Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I will be talking about a composer that probably everyone in the world knows the name of, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Often referred to as a genius, his life was varied and prolific, writing over 600 pieces in his brief 35 years. After I speak to some of his life circumstances, emphasis on some because there's a lot to talk about, we will learn about his Gran Partita for 12 winds plus double bass. And be sure to tune in on Saturday, July 24th at 7:30 p.m. to hear the Berks Sinfonietta Winds play this piece. Let's get started. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born in 1756 in Salzburg, Austria, into a musical family. His father, Leopold, was a musician for the Archbishop in Salzburg, as well as the author of a famous violin-playing manual. His mother, Anna Maria Pertl, was also musical, so both the parents stressed the importance of music onto Wolfgang and his older sister, Maria Anna, nicknamed Nannerl by the family. Mozart was the epitome of a childhood prodigy. He could pick out chords on a harpsichord at age 3. He was playing short pieces by age 4. He was composing by age 5. And just before age 6, his father took him and his sister, who was also an accomplished harpsichordist, to Munich to play at the Bavarian court, and then to Vienna's court. And from here, he would continue to be exposed to diverse performing and composing opportunities because his father found it his godly duty and perhaps a monetary need and or greed to share the miracle that was his son. So in mid-1763, when Mozart was a mere 7 years old, Wolfgang and his sister, along with his mother and father, went on a 3.5-year tour through cities in Germany, France, England, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. The children would often perform and improvise at courts or in public or at churches, and Wolfgang especially would receive much admiration. The travels also exposed Mozart to many different regional styles of European music, which he was able to pick up quickly and incorporate into his music. Notably, he met J.S. Bach's youngest son, Johann Christian Bach, in London. They both took inspiration from each other's music. His next touring residency was in Vienna, this time without his sister, but still with his father. He stayed there for about 15 months, starting in September 1767. While there, he wrote a one-act German Singspiel titled Bastian and Bastienne. He was also writing Italian opera buffas or comic operas, along with festal mass settings. Mozart was especially drawn to the drama of Italian operatic style, so Leopold pushed him to cultivate this and helped him do so by accompanying him on 3 separate Italian tours. The first tour was in 1769, and it went through the main musical centers of Italy: Milan, Naples, Bologna, Florence, and Rome. Some highlights of the trip include a commission to write an opera for the festival season in Milan, becoming an honorary Knight of the Order of the Golden Spur in Rome, and writing and premiering his first opera, Mithridates, King of Pontus. His 2 later Italian tours brought more successful premieres of operas, as well as inspiration to write symphonies, string quartets, and divertimentos, some in overtly Italian musical styles. So this is how his life would continue. He would find a place throughout Europe to tour, performing, learning the musical styles, composing, receiving much admiration, and between tours he would return to his hometown of Salzburg, where he would usually have periods of intense composing productivity, writing symphonies, concertos, sacred works, etc., or receiving commissions from various people and or places. After one particularly long stay in Salzburg as a composer and musician at the Salzburg court, Mozart was looking for more satisfying work. So in 1777, he and his mother went to various cities in search of a new position. He had no success in finding a long-term job in these cities, though, and the trip was tragically marked by the sudden death of his mother in 1778 while they were in Paris. But he did manage to teach, perform, and become close with the court musicians at Mannheim. So much so that he fell in love with a soprano there named Aloysia Weber. He would miss his chance to marry Aloysia. She would marry soon after, but in 1781, he would marry the third Weber daughter, Constance. The final and most permanent location of his life ends up being Vienna, where he was summoned in 1781 to be part of the Archbishop's musical retinue in celebration of the accession of Emperor Joseph II. He was kind of treated poorly among the Archbishop's staff, though, not even allowed to play concerts, so he quickly left. But he did not want to return to Salzburg, so he decided to make a living in Vienna, teaching, composing, and performing. These final 10 years of his life would prove to be some of his most productive. He wrote numerous piano concertos, symphonies, string quartets, and other instrumental works, including the Gran Partita, which I will be talking about soon. Some of his biggest accomplishments were Italian-style operas, of which he worked on with Italian librettist Lorenzo da Ponte to write the texts. While in Vienna, he was often quite anxious about his family's financial situation, even though it was estimated that he probably earned more than most musicians of his time. But it was also known that he had a certain upper-class lifestyle taste that he liked to maintain. So partially due to these financial struggles, he went through a deep depression in the summer of 1788. He kept composing, though, and receiving commissions for well-loved works such as the Magic Flute Opera and the Clemency of Tito. And his final commission, as maybe is famously known through the movie Amadeus, was an anonymous commission of a requiem. He was busy composing this piece, among others, and working in other capacities all the way up to his death, which occurred on December 5th, 1791. The cause of death is not completely understood, but the certified record says it was severe military fever. At the time of his death, he was widely regarded as the greatest composer of the time, although also as a somewhat bold and difficult composer, which refers to the complexity of his music, but perhaps also to his personal tendency to be uncooperative at times. Nevertheless, before the 18th century was out, two firms had already started on creating substantial collected editions of his music, therefore cementing his musical genius into eternity. Mozart's Gran Partita, also more formally known as his Serenade No. 10 for winds in B-flat major, is estimated to have been written between 1781 and 1782 while he was residing in Vienna. The colloquial Gran Partita name is actually from a misspelled subtitle that was added to the original manuscript after Mozart's death, so in someone else's hand. Gran was meant to be grand, but the misspelled pronunciation has mostly stuck when musicians refer to the piece, hence Gran Partita. And partita means a suite or a collection of music. First, I want to give some background on the genre of the classical era wind serenade. Initially, a traditional wind serenade from the classical era consisted of 8 instrumentalists, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets, 2 bassoons, and 2 horns. It is actually thought that the Emperor Joseph II of Austria popularized this set of instrument as he began taking this particular set of musicians around for his court and public concerts. So interested in following this trend, Mozart contributed some traditional 8-instrument serenades to his oeuvre, his E-flat major one and his C minor serenade. But in an effort to impress the emperor further, he wanted to compose something that was especially extravagant. So the Gran Partita was born. Its cohort consists of 13 instruments, 2 oboes, 2 clarinets, 2 basso horns, a lower cousin of the clarinet, 2 bassoons, 4 French horns, and 1 double bass, sometimes played as a contrabassoon. Beyond expanding the instrumentation of this work, the music itself is also expanded beyond the normal 3 or 4 movements that a typical serenade has into a 7-movement work, where a majority of the movements consist of various contrasting sections within the movement. The first movement opens with a slow and luscious introduction that is reminiscent of a Haydn symphony or a Mozart opera overture, and that unfolds into a sprightly and substantial allegro section of the first movement. The slow movements, the 3rd and 5th movements, are some of the most beautiful examples of wind writing by Mozart. The 3rd movement especially might be familiar to you, as it's been quoted in different TV shows and movies, including Amadeus, the movie. The 2nd and 4th movement are both minuet and trio movements. Both feature multiple trios. And remember, our minuet and trio are dance forms. So Mozart displays his knowledge of more elegant and courtly dances, as well as more rustic and sort of peasant dances. So listen for those contrasts in the minuet and trio. The 6th movement is his theme and variation movement. It's quite complex. There's lots of variations. And the 7th movement, the final one, is a raucous and exciting rondo. So I really hope you enjoy. Listen for the beautiful melodies as well as the dramatic operatic style that Mozart brings to all of the music he writes. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you learned something new about Mozart. As I said before, there's a lot to learn about him and his family, so if you're interested, use this as a jumping off point to learn more about him. Be sure to tune in on Saturday, July 24th at 7:30 p.m. to hear the Berks Sinfonietta Winds play his Gran Partita. Thanks again. Bye.